Hello everyone, today I just want to share with you a small swap that I have done, and this is for an Aussie swap that is being hosted by Belinda Coombs, and I will put a link to Belinda's channel in the description box below. I think this is the first one she's ever done, and it's just a small amount of people doing it, and it's a one-on-one swap. It is an embellishment Christmas swap. Okay, and what we had to do was make 4 small Christmas embellishments and 2 handmade Christmas cards. We were to leave the inside of the cards blank so that our partner could use it, and my partner is Irene, who is seriously scrapping. And we're both running a little bit late, so it actually worked out quite well that we were partners due to life situations, I guess. And we're alright with that. And so this is what she will be receiving. So Irene, if you are watching and don't want to see, you can X out now. If you do, that's fine. Okay, so the first one was we were to make 2 handmade cards, and this is the first one that I made, and we both agreed that we would do like vintage shabby vintage style embellishments and cards. And so that's what I've done, and I've put bits of gold in it because I know Irene likes gold, and just a little bit of colour to make it quite Christmassy. And I've used just a what do you call that, just a natural colour card and matching envelope. And this is what I've done. The base is put onto some pattern making paper, you know, the thin tissue pattern paper that we all seem to have, and I've just used scraps of lace, some paper flowers, bits of lace tucked in, a lovely little vintage rhinestone. I have little pieces of gold leaves sticking out. I've done some beading, and I've put some glitter around the edge of the picture. The pictures were all taken from Pinterest. Just a little case of craft collectible, some more lace just tucked in under there. I might need to put a flower center in there, and that's pretty much it. Just, you know, I've got some layered music paper underneath and some more case of craft paper, and just little flowers around the edge and a scrap of fabric. So that's the first card that I made for her, and a little snowflake. I think the snowflake was a different colour, and I've painted that in a pearl colour. So that's the first card that I'm sending to her. And a couple of those little beads, I'll have to give it a good shake before it goes. Yeah, just let me give that a shake. And this is the second one. The inside is just the same. I have the same sort of things used on it. It's just done differently, of course. Same papers underneath. I have a paper doily under it as well. I have some fibre around the edge here that has a nice little sparkle. I've used some fibres here too because I thought they looked quite snowy. And you know, she's got her fur collar around her jacket there, and I have some doodad flowers that I've painted up and just put a bit of stickles in the centre and another rhinestone centerpiece there. So they're the 2 cards. I hope you saw those. There we go. And they're very similar, and they're not 2-dimensional, as you can see. I mean, that one sticks up, but that's only a bit of lace, so that's going to be easy enough to use if she wants to use it. So they're the 2 cards. And then we both agreed that the 4 embellishments we would make would be a tag, a snowflake, a flower, and a bow. So the tag the tag that I made. I made two, but I'm only sending one, but I'll show you two. So these are the two tags I made. Once again, I've used it in the same cardstock that the cards came from, and all I did was I used one of the cards in the pack and cut it up for both tags to keep it all the same. And then I've layered paper underneath. I've laid some lace on top of the card. I've gone around the top cardstock with some glitter. I've used the same papers that I used on the cards. Another snowflake, and that one's gold. More of these lovely fibres, and I've rolled some of the fibres up and made a little flower. Put one of the vintage Diamantes in it and tied a bow and just some lace all the way around, scraps of lace. And I think that's quite pretty. And then just a mixture of fibres and some scrap fabrics. They were on my desk, these fabric pieces, so I can't quite remember. I think they might have come from the curtain that I cut up recently. And all the fibres that I've used came from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. And so that's the first one, and that's the second one, pretty much the same. Just the fibres and a bow and some of the gold and glitter and lovely little laces around the edge there. So that's the tag that she is getting with the cards, and this is for something else. And then we were to make a snowflake embellishment, and this is my snowflake embellishment, and that's the back. It's actually got two snowflakes, a little one and a larger one, and I've put a hanger on it, but of course if she wants to use it for something else, she can just take the hanger off, just cut it off. So I have my snowflake, I have some layered flower fabric pieces, and they were from Louisa. Thank you, Louisa. I have a little poinsettia applique in the center there, and also a beautiful jewel piece in the center as well, and I think that was also from Louisa. Thank you, Louisa. So that's the snowflake that I've altered for her, and so that's two of my embellishments for her. The third one was a flower, and so I've made this flower, which is, it's quite a good size. That's the back. I finished it off with a doily on the back. I've used this lovely scarf fabric because I thought it looked quite snowy, and it's glittery, which is really pretty. So I've gathered that up, and I've gathered this other lace fabric up, which was off a shirt that I'd got from the thrift store. And then I've layered up some more of these fabric flower pieces Louisa sent me quite some time ago now, so they were very useful. Thank you for that, Louisa. And I've tucked in some of the fibres, the fuzzy fibres under there, and then in the center I made another little sort of, I got the fibre and I just sort of went around my two fingers and then made it like a little nest, I suppose you could call it, and then I glued the centerpiece, which is really pretty, and that's from Lisa's craft shop. Thank you for that, Lisa. And I glued that in the center, and it's a really, I think it's quite pretty. It's very soft and fluffy and snowy looking. So that's the flower I made for her, and that's 1, 2, 3, and the last thing is a bow. I had such a time with my bow. You all know that I'm not very good with my bows, so I thought I would make a proper Christmas bow. So I made this one, and I thought, oh, it's a bit big, isn't it? It's a bit big. And it kind of, I don't know if it's perfect or anything, but when you glue it down, it seems to look like the real thing. But then I thought, oh, it's not very vintage looking. So I made it a different one, which is also not very vintage looking. It's, you know, it doesn't really go with anything, does it? So, and I got this, I'll put a link to the tutorial I used for these in the description box below. And so I ended up just doing a normal bow, as in a bow, and I think it's really big, but it's something she can put on top of a package. And so this is the bow I've made, and it is just a bow, and it's made with two different ribbons. This one is one I got from Craft. It had wire in it, but I took the wire out, otherwise it'll get crushed when I send it. And this was a piece of fabric. I got it quite a lot that was in there, and I got that from the thrift store some time ago, and that's a piece there. It's all glittery and beautiful, so I've used that as well and made a double layer. And then I've got a lovely little centerpiece, once again from Lisa's craft shop, in the center there. And I thought, well, that could look pretty. It could look pretty as a decoration, or actually on a special gift, you know. Just once you get it, Irene, just fluff it up a little bit, stick your fingers in there perhaps, and just, or maybe I'll put something in there so it doesn't get crushed. But that's the bow there. That's the snowflake, the flower, the tag, and the two cards that I've made for Irene. And I've also just quickly decorated, because I'm running so late, and it was the end of the school year. There was a lot of busyness to take care of with children and things like that. So and plus I had a terrible toothache, my wisdom tooth. Yes, I'm not even going into it. It was terrible. I used the Palin. Remember, some of you might remember, I think it's called Palin. At the thrift store I found this lovely roll of whatever it is, and it's all glittery, and I thought, well, that's rather Christmassy. So I've made some little bags using it, and one of the comments, they said it was like Palin, which is like an interfacing, and I agree, that's exactly what it feels like. But why would you have a glittered interfacing? I'm not quite sure. And it's not an iron-on one or anything. So I have just sewn together down three sides some little bags, and I have put a little bit, I'll undo it, I've put a little bit of lace across the top there, or trim, and that was from Rita. Thank you so much, Rita. And that would be easy enough just to take off if Irene wanted to use that trim for something, because it's so beautiful. And then I've attached a lovely little snowflake to the tulle, and I'll take that off. It's just threaded through there, and I've threaded it through like that. And this was from Louisa. Thank you, Louisa. And I've punched 2 holes, so that's easy enough to open. And you just open it, and then I've just, to make it easy, because some of these things can be fiddly, I've just cut a half circle there, so it's easy enough to get into. But that's quite a strong little bag, because it doesn't rip. Whatever it is, Palin or whatever, it doesn't rip. And so I've made a couple of these also, and I'll fill those with some goodies for Irene. And that is it. That's my swap. Thank you, Belinda, so much for hosting this. It was fun to do. It was fun to do now that I've done it. That's the thing, isn't it? Things crop up, and you don't know they're going to. You don't know they're going to crop up. So there we go. Take care, everybody, and thank you so much for watching. And my son's on holiday now, so hopefully I'll have quite a lot of spare time to get crafting again, which will be lovely. Take care. Bye.